Welcome to the Crystal Zone podcast with Kyle Russell of crystalconcentrics.com. Our motto is Crystals for Life. You're in tune to the Crystal Zone podcast, and we're just taking a moment now to share a word from our partners, people who make this show possible and who might be able to help you in some way.
Hi, I'm Nina Manelson, and this is a message for you if you're a woman over 40 who has been on and off diets for at least 10 years. I'm a nutrition and body relationship therapist, and I help women feel truly at home in their body. I work with smart women who already have so much information about what they should or shouldn't do to care for themselves, but still feel like they're at war with their body and food. If this resonates with you, please visit ninamanelson.com. I have a free ebook for you, How to Be a Woman at Ease in Her Body.
Welcome back to episode 3. I am talking to you right into my computer because I was not able to find the one little cable that gives me access through my fancier microphone. So hopefully my engineering whiz, Kobe, will be able to figure out how to optimize the sound of my voice. And in the meantime, we'll get down to business. I will share a lesson learned from a mentor of mine, and that is that it's better to come early and ugly than late and pretty. Sometimes there are windows that open up in time which allow us to pursue opportunities that we are charged with taking instead of letting pass in the interests of waiting on some even more opportune time to show up. And an example of that has come up because I had been thinking about taking a table in Tucson, which I've recently likened to somebody as rock heaven. And the opportunity of going to rock heaven once a year by attending the Tucson Gem Show has proven too strong for me to resist. But I was doing a fine job of keeping it at bay when I got a communication from one of the organizers that a perfect spot had opened up in my favorite preferred show. So, God willing, that will happen, and we will see you there in Tucson. So, obviously, these podcasts are going to be heard before and after that time. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit of my enthusiasm because for me, that's a career high point. Much like when I was in the music business, I had hoped to perform in Europe, but ended up performing in Jamaica, which in some ways was, of course, and imaginably even better. Now, the topic of this particular podcast is going to be a crystal healing meditation that I did. I am often inclined, because each one of these meditations is so rich and full of valuable information to convey to you, that I'm tempted to make a podcast or write a blog about every single one because they're each so unique and so newsworthy, as it were. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and start for you by telling you a little bit about the concept of the crystal healing meditation. It is designed to be not so much an experience or an intention setting opportunity, which my two other main meditation types are designed to deliver. Instead, this is one where I hone into you and your situation personally and pick crystals that are just right for you and your situation. Now, with every single meditation, I always begin with what I call a biomed. It's a tuning into the body, a scanning, a an invitation to all the cells in the furthest reaches of your body to be present, to join the party, to be heard and be seen as a holistic being. And it's very important, I think, to ground yourself into that reality without reaching for stones in order to have a sense of independent experience before you bring rocks into the picture. The rocks are meant to enhance that experience, to deepen it, but you have to start with that baseline of, of consciousness, of physical body consciousness, whether that's any pains you might be experiencing, any racing thoughts you might be having, the impact point between your bum and the chair, any joints that might be giving you a little trouble. Those types of things are all relevant and important to bring to the table and to be aware of. So we usually go through that type of a guided meditation, and then people share what that was like for them, either a word that comes to mind regarding their actual experience or something that they are hoping for or were hoping for from that experience as a way of sort of catapulting them closer towards that desired state of mind and body. So, after the initial meditation, the biomed as I call it, we transition into the first set or round of stones. And the way that that works is, in this case, I thought rather than checking in with people and finding out what was troubling them in the moment, I wanted to give them an opportunity to get even further past the daily hullabaloo by taking on some naturally healing stones that would put them in a better, deeper frame of mind, and that whatever came up after that preliminary prerequisite experience would sort of weed out some of the less relevant topics or concerns and bring in the more relevant topics and concerns. So the stones that I chose to work with for that particular first stone meditation were what I call water quartz, which is a rough chunk of quartz or rose quartz that's been tumbled so that it's softened. It doesn't have any sharp or cutting edges, but it doesn't look like a crystal. It's just literally a shard or a piece or a chunk of quartz that has been made softer through a light tumbling process. And I find those to be particularly cleansing. It's like washing your hands. Like when you hold them, it's like water continuously rushing and flowing over your hands. And the second stone I chose was a Himalayan pink chalcedony nodule. So rose quartz has its place, but it's symbolic of a larger concept of unconditional love, whereas the pink chalcedony, whether it is a nodule like this or was previously petrified wood, it has a super healing, soothing, cleansing, realigning quality to it. And to have it in a kind of natural nodule form is a treat. I don't think it was found in nature quite like that. It also seems to be rough tumbled, but the softness of the stone gives it a natural textural satisfaction in addition to the quality of the pink chalcedony that it is made of. So we put those two stones in each person's hand, and you had the option to swap hands or put it on different parts of your body. And the function of that second meditation was to have us naturally cleanse, naturally purify, naturally uh, restore ourselves to a greater or more satisfying state of being. And then after that, once we did that and we also shared, and my sharing technique is usually to go clockwise or counterclockwise. Later in the meditations, I will sometimes mix it up and just call people out in a kind of semi-random fashion. The reason I say it's semi-random is that it's not all to the left or all to the right. It might be a person to my sort of front left, and then someone across from them, and then someone directly to my left. So it's almost like a bouncing ball that bounces to one end and then bounces to another end and then sort of slowly makes its way around into all the possible corners of the room so that everyone who could share has been given that opportunity. So people report after the first round sensations of calm and peace, relaxation, and then after the second round, they have similar experiences, but it's augmented just a little bit. And my goal is to get them into a higher perspective from which to then reflect back onto their life, their current situation in a snapshot fashion and say, okay, what is it that's troubling me right now? What is an area which I could really use some more support in? And so everybody did share what it was that was not so much bothering them, but on their minds currently. And I was able to pick one or two stones for each person. And I'm going to tell you about those stones. I'm not going to probably have time to tell you about the stones that I put in the central layout or constellation. So we always sit in a circle, and in the middle, I tend to put some primary stones that are meant to either set the tone or start the process or move the process along. In this case, just for the record, I chose a big ashen white Georgia quartz, a black tourmaline log, a queen of the night, which is the name I give to a giant spiky calcite stalactite, and I put a big chunk of jet in there, and also a ventifact, which is one of my favorite types of stones. It is a weather worn basalt shard from near the South Pole. Now, I didn't get into explaining what those were there for. I didn't consider it as a grid. Crystal grids are generally designed to produce some sort of outcome or advance some sort of agenda. In this case, these constellations are meant to sort of reflect the firmament and bring in a universal aspect or set of energies to the situation. Um, so that's pretty much all I will say about those. What I wanted to get into was some of the pairs of stones that we did end up using, and I'm going to go through in rough order in which it happened, not naming names because there's no reason for people's identity to be brought into this. But what I share for universal value is the types of stones that they've worked with. Specifically, skeletal quartz and a red laser. Skeletal quartz is like a Herkimer diamond, but it has this shattered interior and represents our coexistence with pain or other weaknesses that we have within in the context of this greater strength. And then because they had asked to not play dirty, but they had been well behaved and they wanted to get a little bit more raw. I brought in the red laser, and it was very interesting because red was a color that they had never been comfortable with dealing with directly. It turns out that they had always sort of gone towards orange, or, you know, instead of taking the bull by the horns, they, followed the bull around. And so the red laser turned out to be a wonderful tool by which they were able to introduce this fiery energy into different parts of their body by pointing it at those different areas. The next set of stones I used were girasol or foggy quartz and celestite. The foggy quartz I like because it is what I call the trust stone. This person was coming up against feelings of fear and uncertainty. And I think sometimes one of our best strategies for dealing with that is um, to simply take it head on, um, to let it be, and to allow ourselves to acclimatize to the notion of not having everything under control. And that tends to engender a sense of trust. A flip side of that was the celestite, which I call the heavenly gifts, mercy, or gratitude stone, because in that situation, come what may, you open yourself up to the possibility of good things happening and also to receiving the value and benefit of good things that have happened in the past, all symbolized by this one stone. And so when it came to sharing at the end about their experience with this combo, they didn't even remember the specific messages that I had given them about each stone, but the take home message was received, and they reported feeling that sense of trust and gratitude and being in a better place, reaching a level of calmness that they had not known in recent, even years, because meditation was not something that they had been doing recently. So it was really nice to give people an opportunity to get back an experience that has been a little bit at bay for a while. Next, we had a sense of exhaustion and a sense of being destabilized by always being on the run. And so, what I chose for that individual was a rhodochrosite, which is the regeneration stone, a very physical, it's a root stone designed to um, sort of breathe life, put wind in your sails, give you a chance to start over again. A bit of a rebirthing stone. It's on my birthday greeting card for that reason. And the other stone for them was a battery quartz, a crystal that I had had for 30 years, one of the oldest stones that I've had in my collection. And it has always, when I've held it and others have held it, given a sense of amplifying, taking a small flame of energy and building that up, firing it up, making it more vital, making it stronger. And so they also, who also interestingly got into a very deep meditation, their voice got quieter, got more monotone oriented. And what I find is that when people take on that voice, they are in a deep state of meditation. And it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, and for the people it happens with, it's always very encouraging. Next, I have someone who is exploring their spiritual mission and their kind of extraterrestrial origins and have been meditating for a matter of years without getting to those places, but with a consistency to really just come back to the table time and time again to not let bad meditative experiences or experiences where nothing happens hold them back from still going back to the plate, getting back up onto the field, up at bat, to use a baseball metaphor. And in this case, doing that over the course of time, which is something I recommend for people. Most of our breakthroughs don't happen automatically, although they can happen automatically, instantly, momentarily, miraculously. We sometimes have to work at it and stay in the process over time. And in this case, that has paid off. And so I brought into play a nebulite, which is a chrome chalcedony that is very galactic in nature. And I put as a pair with that a ventifact, which I had mentioned before. There's a bigger one in the central constellation, and I call it the black torch. It helps you really open doors, really kind of move forward in the dark. Even if you're not sure where you're going, it will clear the way. So that was kind of cool. Now, we are so far into this podcast, and I am committed to making them only 25 to 30 minutes. So I might drop off a couple of the stones. We'll see where we get. But I will go ahead and tell you about the next pair of stones, which was a bloodstone for community, self in community, because this individual has had ongoing sort of issues of feeling at odds with the group. And so this was kind of to place them in context in a way that was healthy and safe. And then the pyrite concretion they were working with also was designed to give them a sense of domain. I belong here. I deserve this. Nobody can shake me. I take up my space and I do so without apology. And that proved to be very healing at this point in terms of what they're dealing with, in terms of finding housing and moving and getting help to make that happen. Now, the next two folks were going to be separating from each other, not in a bad way, but just physically, geographically. And although I gave them stones each for their own personal situations, a big citrine transmitter for one, in order to be and take with them and stay in the presence of their own positive best self, while also having a transmitter that could convey and receive information long distance. Another time I'll explain more about what a transmitter is. Basically, it's a crystal that stands at an angle, like a sort of radar dish. And then the other stones that they were working with were ruby. Ruby designed to keep you grounded, keep you stable, keep you steady, and not feel like a balloon that has been untethered that's going to just sort of float up into the sky. And interestingly, they ended up putting those rubies, two of them, it was a squat one and a long one, onto their thighs, which was a great way to tap right into the body and have the stone work into your larger body part areas. So that was really a very cool type of thing that happened. So last but not least, I am getting through all of these stones, was a Mama Earth jade, a great big Chinese water-worn jade, which was designed also to provide a sense of constancy, of um, steadiness and embrace. I often say that the jade is like the basin that holds a pond or a lake or even the entire ocean, that silent container that has its arms around the ebb and flow of the waters is the jade, and that just provides an automatic sense of calm and soothing and containment that can help people through whatever types of situations they may be having. So, that in a nutshell is your live, kind of minute by minute walk through the meditative experience as we did it for a crystal healing meditation. And I hope that if you're in person, you will partake of one of those meditations, coming to them in our location in Arlington, Massachusetts. But I am looking to find new and interesting ways for folks to connect with these types of experiences online, as I have through this podcast and through some of my other online offerings, videos, and programs that I'm looking to put together. So, in case my station identifications don't do it, this is Kyle Russell of Crystal Concentrics, and this is the Crystal Zone podcast. Thanks for listening, and do tune in again for our next adventures.
You're in tune to the Crystal Zone podcast, talking all about crystals for life, and you might wonder where would be a great place to buy crystals. Well, we have a warehouse and storefront, the Portal Crystal Gallery in Arlington Center, Massachusetts, and you can have a look at all our displayed items, and also, if there's something of interest, we have an extensive backstock. In any case, if you're more distant and you want to work by email and phone, we are happy to serve you through our quality custom crystal mail order service. A portion of our inventory is up at crystalconcentrics.com, but you should definitely email Kyle, K-Y-L-E, at crystalconcentrics.com with any questions. We can send you videos and show you all kinds of items which we have not yet had time to upload onto the site. Looking forward to hearing from you.